and welcome to Chaos Tournaments. Today I'm Fetch, and today I'm gonna be interviewing Just Ice, the champion of the Chaos Treasure Series 5.
Hello, how's it going?
We're gonna be going through a quick thing of thought process behind brewing, as well as Ice's history as a player. So, Ice, I know that I know you've been in the scene for a bit and you brew a whole lot of decks, but I don't actually know much about your larger history. So if you want to walk me through that.
Well, I started playing Magic. I went to college in, oh God, 2017, I think it was.
Hmm.
And made some friends, and they happen to have, like, just kitchen table casual style decks. Like, I think there was a 60 card dinosaur vehicles from Ixalan block or whatever. Um,
Amazing.
and started there, and then didn't do well in college, moved back home, and then ended up moving in to an apartment with those same guys and discovered Commander there. And that was late 2018, I want to say. Um, got into got like deep into Magic. My first pre-release was Ravnica Allegiance.
Hmm.
Um, I still have the first card I ever pulled. It was an Omnixilus Reignited dual deck from a Mystery Cube. And then
No.
pre-release, I pulled Rakdos the Showstopper. And so
Nice.
since then, I just started making demons and played casual for forever. And then Throne of Eldraine came around, and the Brawl decks were spoiled. And I was like, I want this Corvault one. I love this Corvault one.
Hmm.
Um, those Brawl decks were really hard to find. You could never find them anywhere. And so Christmas time comes around, and I got a Brawl deck, but it was the Hullen Brawl deck. And as we all know, Hullen is a powerhouse in casual, and got to the point where it was getting too strong for like
Hmm.
just our kitchen table. And so I started taking the deck apart, and like that was right around, I want to say, July at that point. Um, and then right before my birthday, then on my birthday I got a whole bunch of, they got me like a Force of Will, a Mental Misstep, and then like a Devoted Druid combo for the deck right
Oh.
after, as I was taking it apart. And so at that point, I was like,
Hmm.
might as well go full in competitive. And then I took
Yeah.
off from there.
I mean, it's a fun deck. Not quite the powerhouse that it used to be, but
It still isn't casual, but
oh, and casual, absolutely. But
I do still really enjoy the cEDH version, and it still
hmm.
probably is my favorite list. But it is not as strong as it needs to be.
No, not top of the format by any means. But I mean, you are someone who is known for playing a whole lot of different decks, including ones that are top of the format. You chose to bring Najila as your deck for Treasure 5, and I believe it. You said that morning was the very first time you've ever played the deck.
Yes, like I goldfish maybe 10 games before the tournament started, and then just jumped in.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out for you, and obviously you have enough experience with different decks where you're able to do that skill transference there.
Just playing against so many different players and different playstyles, you pick up on how need to be played in order to be good.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. What is some of your history as far as like now that you've been in cEDH and you've been doing all this stuff, the amount of variety of decks that you've played?
Um, I played Holland basically from that like July till like 4 months ago, 5 months ago now, when I started this box. And in the meantime, I would have a like secondary deck in that varied. It was always something like off meta. Um, like I had Svella Ice Shaper cEDH. Um, that I actually brewed with higher from playing with power.
Ah.
We had Rigo extra turns from Streets of New Capenna,
Mm-hmm.
but there was always something off the wall crazy. And then, the, like maybe 6 months ago, I picked up Roxai as like a second deck, and after Roxai, I got realized like Nas wasn't really how I wanted to play, and
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to try something other than Hullen because I'd played it for so long, so consistently, and so I started building a like cEDH battle box. Where I have one of every card that I need, and just like throwing lists together, and just like trying to figure out what would be a good deck for me.
It's an interesting idea that I don't think a lot of people have done in our community. We're just playing all of those different decks and trying out a whole bunch of different stuff so you can get something that you like. And I mean, with how proxy friendly our community is, it's one of the few places you can actually do it and not be breaking the bank.
Um, Actually, every card in my box is real, and most of them are
Oh,
foiled. But
dang.
um, I'm insane when it comes to like spending money on Magic.
Hmm. I mean that is impressive, I will say. But
The
for
hardest
other
part,
people,
yeah,
proxies,
yeah, the hardest part is
yeah.
keeping them all sleeved in the same sleeves. Because
Mm-hmm.
and like so I switch, and it takes me like 20 minutes to switch a deck.
Well, through your ventures of playing all of these different lists and playing all this different stuff, what are some things that you have learned both from a playing perspective as well as from a deck building and brewing perspective?
Before I started this, I always had trouble with this, but I've really like breach combos are like no longer my enemy. I could not for the life of me figure out breach combos forever. But now that I'm actually
Mm,
like consistently playing them, it's become a lot easier for me. Um, and as far as like
mm,
brewing goes and deck building, um, don't be afraid to like make like somewhat controversial decisions and like maybe suboptimal in the general consensus, but match your playstyle is a big thing that I've picked up on because like rock size not really my playstyle, and when I was playing that I realized that, and like Nas isn't for me. Like it's not consistent enough for me, I don't think. And just being able to tune a deck to how you want to play it.
yeah, something that I will always say when someone is brewing whatever funky thing they're doing is like, go see how good you can make it, see if it works well for you, play it, get some reps in, but be ready to realize, okay, this isn't working out. I need to either swap out this package or this card, or maybe try out a different deck. And try and find something that works well for you. Just because other people don't agree with it doesn't mean it isn't good for you, but make sure that you learn to cut your losses when you need to.
Yeah, definitely. And not doing stuff just because other people say that you should. Don't give in to the peer pressure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, there is a certain limit to it. There are cards where it is just very clearly that this is a bad card. Like,
Yeah,
no offense to Colossal Dreadmaw, but I wouldn't recommend putting it in a cEDH deck.
unless it's Galta. Galta's food chain. We have a guy at my LGS that
Uh,
runs Galta food chain with Colossal Dreadmaw in it.
Dang. That is quite something. Wow. Okay. Then maybe Colossal Dreadmaw really is just the best card in the game.
If only it was colorless for every deck.
If only. But are there any other, I'd say, deck building philosophy stuff that you have from this experience of playing all these different decks?
First thing I always do is I will not go below 29 lands. Like
Wow.
my Rog side list, I hated how inconsistently I drew lands, and like when I needed them, and having to mull super low just to get a keepable hand. So I think 29 lands is my limit, and I will start at the mana base. Because once you have your good mana base, you'll be able to. You shouldn't have to worry about like pips or anything for any other cards in the list. I always want to have. I normally try to shoot for three minimum ways to win. Like, so obviously, like say, Consult Oracle, Breach, Duretti, and Najima, for example.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then from there, just fill up your tutors. Card draw is a fundamental of every deck for me, and that's why I end up cutting Nas for the One Ring in Najila, because One Ring just draws so many cards, and then combos with Duretti, and I'm not afraid to try more experimental cards. Like I tried Stern Scolding, which probably is better in like a Thrasio Space deck, but it counters Dockside, it counters Displacer Kittens, it counters Tivits. Not Tivits, Timnas. It countered all three of those in the course of the tournament.
Well, it seems like, to me, when it comes to deck building, you focus on consistency first and foremost for how the deck performs.
Yeah, I want to have the same results like every game.
Well, and it worked out for you with the tournament. Having that where you can consistently do your stuff with Najila and not have to worry about, okay, is this hand spiky enough?
Yeah, I know a lot of people try to shoot for like turn 3, turn 4 wins, whereas I'm normally, I say this, yet I won turn 3 in the finals, but I normally shoot for like a turn, like I want the game to end turn 5, turn 6, or later, and I try to play decks that can push it out that long and succeed when a game goes that long.
Yeah. And it really just comes down to, as you were saying, finding your own personal style and making your deck choices match your style.
Yeah. Another thing I just thought about, making sure I run enough removal. Because I know a lot of people are always light on removal. And I think being able to remove all this Draenith, your important commanders, like value engines. Do not be afraid to remove value engines is a big thing I've picked up on. So if you just let someone value, they're going to run away with the game.
I absolutely agree with that. Like, for specifically, like, Red Blast, if you see someone playing Heuristic Study, Red Blasting the Heuristic is absolutely a good play to make.
And even if it's already on the field, don't be afraid to use it as a removal spell.
But it has been great talking to you. Are there any last things you want to say before we go? Any shout-outs or any last comments?
No, not really. I do want to give a small shout-out to Comedian, MTG. I do receive coaching from him, and it actually really helps before, like, for these past few tournaments that I've been able to, like, top 16 with Last Chaos and then finish first in this one.
Nice.
He's just a great guy in general, but for those of you that want to like come hang out, jam some games, don't be afraid to ping me. I'm off. I'll be down to jam.
Yeah. Well, and I know that you've been playing some games with the Chaos League.
Not as much
You've
as I'd
been
like
a few
to, but
reps in there. No, but at least some. And
Yeah,
that's one of the places
try.
that can be found. So if you watching want to play with Just Ice, you can join the league and try and get him when he's available for that. I understand the busy life though.
Oh yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Just Ice, for coming on and talking.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will see you next tournament.